Despite his youth, he already holds an executive position at his company and earns $150,000 annually, an outstanding graduate from a highly esteemed university. You're a high school graduate, and he's in a different league.
What? Do people today still only complete high school?
As they both looked down on me, my ex-girlfriend, whom I had not seen in 10 years, cuddled up to her lover beside her. She seemed to know nothing, and it seems like she hasn't changed at all since then.
So allow me to tell her who I am, why I am here, and what will happen to them. My name is Jake Johnson.
As the oldest of 4 children, my parents are my loving mother, my dad, who owns a business, and my younger sister, Chloe, who is 7 years my junior. I think Chloe is a very cute and valuable sister, maybe since we are separated by years. She was frequently admitted to the hospital due to her weak heart, which was present from birth. Chloe, who was unable to attend daycare frequently, was suppressing her urge to go out and play since she missed the outside world more than anyone else. I wanted her to recover quickly because I felt bad for her. Since I was in elementary school, it became my daily ritual to go to see her in the hospital and update her on my day as soon as school let out. Fortunately, I was a bright, active child who never had any real difficulties in school or athletics. I was a fortunate child who never struggled with friendships until elementary school. My schoolwork became much more difficult when I started high school. However, I never ignored self-study since I wanted to be Chloe's teacher when she was able to go to school. I may have retained the highest grades in my grade as a result.
I didn't care about the many rumors that circulated, which said things like, I'm a bookworm, or I'm a boring guy, which are common in adolescence. I got my first girlfriend in the middle of all of this.
Maureen Thompson is a woman whose father is an executive at a large corporation and who is said to have received great marks. Even though we were friends at first, I never imagined that Maureen would come clean to me. She is a stunning woman with striking features and striking straight lustrous hair. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to refer to her as the Madonna of the school because she was so well liked by both boys and girls. I was truly taken aback when Maureen declared, "I like you. Go out with me, please." But I was just as content, so we formally began dating. We went to many locations together and were frequently asked out after we started dating. Chloe's condition had stabilized by then, and the hospital released her. I simply told her in passing that I had a girlfriend at home. Chloe, who was content as though it were her own problem, insisted on seeing my girlfriend again, stating that she needed to recover for that. Maureen turned out to be more assertive than I thought, and even holding hands was initiated by her. Embarrassingly, I was somewhat pushed around and was nervous around the proactive Maureen, but the relationship itself was going smoothly. But then, during the winter of my sophomore year in high school, things took a turn. Chloe's health, which had been stable, suddenly deteriorated. In a rush, my parents took her to the hospital for a thorough examination, and it was declared that her heart condition was bad, and it was life-threatening. Even as a child, I always thought Chloe's heart would eventually heal, and that's why I believed she was undergoing treatment by being hospitalized. But when something close to a terminal diagnosis was declared, everything in front of me went dark in an instant. Around the same time, unfortunately, my dad's business started to decline. Chloe needed surgery. It was life-threatening if we didn't do it soon, but we were short of funds. My parents struggled to raise money from various places, but it still wasn't enough, and then they resorted to borrowing without a way to repay it. Eventually, they had to close down the company. Thanks to the surgery and treatment, Chloe's condition stabilized. However, it was said that her symptoms could worsen again at any time. She had to be hospitalized again, and because she was still young, my mom had to stay with her. Since my mom, who used to support my dad, became devoted to Chloe, my dad's work burden increased, and he was busy, coming home late every day with visible exhaustion on his face. At this rate, everyone would be ruined, both mentally and physically. My parents were nearing their limits. Even as a child, I thought about this, pondering for weeks before making a decision. One day, unusually, both my parents were home, and I sat in front of them just after dinner and said, "Dad, Mom, I have something to tell you." I'd never formally addressed anything like this. Surprised, they both sat across from me. What's the matter? Did something happen? If it's a worry, tell us. Let's hear it.
It's not that. There's just something I want to say. Something you want to say?
I'm thinking after graduating, I won't go to college. I'll work. Jake, what on earth are you talking about? Jake, are you worried about money? I'm sorry, thank you, but we will handle the money. So you should go to college and study.
Until then, I was planning to go to the best college in the state, and I figured my parents would want that.
No, I'm not going to college. I've decided. I'll work for the family.
As expected, my parents strongly opposed.
You can't. Nowadays, you at least have to go to college, or you'll regret it when you become an adult. Moreover, we know that you actually want to study, Jake. You don't have to worry about the money. You should do what you want to do.
My feelings were crystal clear to my parents.
I wanted to go to college and learn. That was true. I wanted to learn new things. I wanted to expand my possibilities. I wanted to have more options in the future.
But just as much, if not more, for me, family is the most important.
Jake, of course I want to study. I want to learn more. But I can do that when I'm an adult. You can study whenever you want to. But I can only act for my family now. I want to be useful for my family. I was glad to hear their feelings, but my feelings didn't change. Hearing my determination and thoughts, my parents ended up crying.
I'm sorry for being so useless.
It's not that. It's because I want to do it. Jake, sorry, thank you, really. And then I desperately looked for a job and found work at a hotel with accommodation. Somehow, I managed to secure a job safely. A few days after securing the job in the morning, I reported to Morin. Due to family circumstances, I've decided not to pursue higher education and have secured a job at a hotel out of state with accommodation.
What do you mean? Go to college. I'll work.
Work? We're still high school students. Let's go to college together. Please reconsider.
Yeah, but it's already decided.
She pressed me many times to reconsider. It's only natural. In this day and age, there are hardly any people who work just after high school.
But no matter how much Morin tried to persuade me, my feelings remained unchanged. Are you serious?
Yes.
Can it be changed? No.
Okay, then. Let's break up. Being with someone who's not going to college and long distance, I can't endure it. It's impossible. Let's break up.
To Morin, who whispered through her tears, I could only nod and say, I understand. I'm sorry. Thank you for everything. In the end, we went our separate ways, each walking a different path.
Although I was hung up on Morin for a while, she seemed to quickly move on and soon started dating a top-performing guy. Feeling I had no right to be down about it, I pushed myself and began progressing, talking with teachers, my parents, and potential employers for a job.
One day, I saw Maureen laughing with a friend in the corridor.
But are you really okay with breaking up? You were so into it. Come on, who wants someone with no future prospects, no matter how smart they are? Now, he said it was due to family circumstances, but it basically means he's poor. Rejecting someone who can't even afford college, well, that's harsh.
It's so you, a villain behind that face. Hey, stop it.
At the sound of the clearly mocking voice, I clenched my fist and bit my lip. It was frustrating, not my circumstances. I don't know if that was Morin's true nature. Maybe I made her say those words. Anyway, everything was just unbearably frustrating. After that, Morin and I, being in different classes, didn't exchange a glance or a word until graduation. Then time passed, and it was about 10 years later. I was headed to a high-end restaurant that was famous for being hard to book. Upon arriving at the restaurant, I slowly opened the sliding door. That's when I bumped into a couple.
Excuse me, huh? Ah.
At the sound of that familiar voice, my thoughts froze for a moment. The woman in the couple was Morin. It took me a while to realize it was Morin because she had become even more beautiful and sophisticated as an adult. She looked surprised and rounded her eyes at me, then frowned the next moment.
Why are you here? It's not a place for you. Why am I? I came here with my boyfriend. You should leave before you get kicked out.
The man who nodded at her words introduced himself as Seth Smith. He was wearing a well-tailored suit, and both his shoes and watch seemed expensive. Maybe because I was staring at him from top to bottom in surprise, Morin began bragging, unasked. He, despite being young, is an executive in his company, and his annual income is $150,000. He's a true elite from a prestigious university, different class from a high school graduate like you.
What? There are high school graduates nowadays.
The man also laughed mockingly, sizing me up. However, I found his face familiar. Smith. Where have I seen him?
Thinking about it, I remembered and opened my mouth.
I told you, you should leave quickly. Or do you have some business with us? Are you by any chance the manager of the new luxury hotel opening near the station? You know a lot. Are you an employee? Or a cleaner? Either way, remembering the face of the manager is commendable. But even so, we can't raise your salary.
Come on, Seth. That's rude, isn't it? It's fine. It's the truth. Seth and Morin laughed condescendingly at me, looking satisfied. I said, "No, that's not it," and took out my business card holder from the suit I was wearing. I am not entirely unrelated. I am a CEO of the Wilson Group that manages the hotel. I just took office, so I thought you might not know. Handing my business card to the dumbfounded Seth, he took it reflexively. Then he stared at the business card. The text read, Chief Executive Officer. The name Wilson Group is something Seth Smith would see every day. I would be your boss. I'm in the position to pay you a salary of $150,000. Well, it's still just planned, though. I mumbled, sighing. Hearing this, the two compared the business card and me, and started to tremble, turning pale. What's going on? Why would a high school graduate like you? Well, a lot happened. Talking about it here would cause trouble at the restaurant. Let's move to another spot, I said, calming Morin, who seemed to be panicking. We left the restaurant for a quieter place. Tell me, why are you the CO? I think back to the events of 10 years ago at her words. The hotel I started working at after high school, living in, was indeed historic, but it was on the verge of collapse due to poor management. But it was practically the workplace that took me in. I worked hard to repay the favor to the other employees. I, a high school grad, was still just a kid. Of course, I thought I would be treated as a nuisance, but they recognized my efforts and were fond of me, I think. The hotel itself was clean and beautiful, being well maintained despite its age. We could enjoy the wonderful views and the amazing dishes of the chef, and we had many repeat customers. However, we struggled to increase new customers, which threatened the management. Wanting to do something about the hotel situation, I consulted with my boss. To attract a younger demographic, we started using social media for promotion. This strategy worked, and it quickly became a topic of conversation. The entire historic town where the hotel was located also started attracting more visitors. As a result, employees from other hotels also started to appreciate it. I was happy to see everyone happy and realized that even someone like me could be useful for the hotel. I immersed myself in social media, making videos and improving my PC skills. During this time, a man visited to stay. He seemed interested to know that an employee like me was working and living in. The man introduced himself as Alexander Wilson. He tried to hold me back to talk while I was working. However, other employees would appear out of nowhere and protectively pull me away, piquing his interest even more. Once, an elderly female employee stepped in front of Mr. Wilson, saying, "Excuse me, but please stop trying to detain employees while they're working." It was clear from her words and expression that she was thinking, enough is enough. He needs money as his little sister is seriously ill. That's why he's working harder than anyone else, and we are all supporting him. Please don't disturb him. She raised her voice, which was always polite to customers. Although surprised, I learned that the two seemed to know each other. Even after I intervened, she kept scolding Mr. Wilson. That night, I overheard the conversation between the landlady and Mr. Wilson. "I'm thinking of folding this hotel. Owner, it can't be helped. I'm sorry, even though everyone is doing their best." From their conversation, it seemed that Mr. Wilson was the owner of the hotel and was planning to close it. It also seemed that the employees would be referred to other hotels and inns owned by him. I couldn't help but interrupt, saying, "Please wait." The two looked surprised and uncomfortable. I pleaded with them. "This hotel may be old, and we may have fewer new customers, but we have many repeat customers, and we provide the utmost hospitality to those who visit. We want them to think about coming again. The food is delicious. The room is comfortable. There are many hotels nationwide. There are many better places than here. But there are things that can only be experienced at this hotel. Many choose this hotel, and anyone who has stayed even once always comes back." "Always? Is there any other hotel like that?" "We have many guests who say they will come back to meet us. They say this place is good. Isn't that incredible? Closing such a wonderful hotel? Absolutely not." I didn't really know what I was saying. My mouth was moving faster than my brain. The effects of social media are finally appearing. The number of people who come to see the videos is increasing. Just a little more. In a little more time, this hotel will become more famous. Definitely. I will make it happen. So please, don't talk about closing the hotel. Closing the hotel is absolutely not allowed. That's the only thing that's not allowed. I somehow wanted to convey this feeling, despite speaking fervently with all my heart. For a while, the expressions on the two faces only became increasingly somber. "Jake Johnson, we appreciate your feelings, and we are happy. Thank you for thinking so much about this hotel. We know you've been working hard every day. Thanks to you, we have more guests. We really appreciate it. But there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do, right?" The landlady informed us with a sad face. "This whole area has been designated for land readjustment. We are being forced to vacate." "Land readjustment? How could that?" "The owner tried to negotiate with the government multiple times, but it's already a final decision, so he couldn't get through to them." "I'm so sorry." "I'm powerless," Mr. Wilson said. I was at a loss for words. According to them, this place would become a national road eventually, facilitating the commute for many people. No matter how convenient it becomes, losing this hotel is. So, it's over. This is a final decision. The landlady looked at me, tears welling up in her eyes, and managed a smile. I couldn't say a word for a while, feeling as if I had been punched in the head. "You are Jake Johnson, right?" "Yes." "Your effort seems suited to a hotel proprietor." "Huh? How about it? Would you like to learn with me?" When I looked up, he was smiling. He, who owns many hotels and properties, took my hand and looked straight into my eyes. "You have the talent. The one who has revitalized this hotel. Talent, yo. If you come to me, I'll make you a respectable manager with all responsibility. How about it?" I nodded to his words. And so I started working under him. After I started working, I understood he is incredibly busy. He doesn't even have time to sleep. Following him around and working while learning various things, I never thought I was suited to be a manager. I was just working desperately. I've always loved studying. I also love learning new things. Therefore, I delved into studying management. When Mr. Wilson knew about my family situation, he offered support. He introduced us to a renowned heart surgeon, and Chloe underwent a successful operation. In less than a year, she was able to run around outside. He also helped with the recovery of my dad's business. My parents, in tears, thanked him and happily accepted becoming a part of the Wilson Group. I studied hard and worked desperately to absorb the work to repay Mr. Wilson. Eventually, I was recognized by him, and when he retired, I was unanimously chosen by the shareholders to succeed his position. And that was 6 months ago. I thought there was no need to tell everything to the two of them and explain briefly. Then, turning to Seth Smith, do you judge our hotel guests by their appearance or educational background? I asked. He shrugged his shoulders exaggeratedly. Do you know our hotel's concept? We do our best to make every guest satisfied. Despite that, what was that attitude earlier? We need to consider whether we really need you in our hotel. Being effectively told he's fired, Seth started trembling. His face turned pale as if he was about to collapse. It felt sickening to watch. But this one, said the CEO, is a high school graduate. Hey, don't blame me. It's your fault, isn't it? Stop saying unnecessary things. What? Do you believe everything she says? It's concerning how easily swayed by others' opinions you are. Hold on, please. No matter the reason, those who look down on others are not suited to be managers in a hotel where hospitality is paramount. We'll have to consider this internally going forward. Good to know early on. Thank you. Seth Smith crumbled right there. You haven't changed, have you? I said, addressing Morin, who was standing frozen in place. She showed a moment of hope in her expression. You always judge people by their titles or education. You'll likely dump him too if his income drops or he loses his title. You must have been living like this all along. It must have hit the mark. She turned red in the face and yelled at me. What? So you, after dumping me back then, you laughed about it with your friends? I remember the words mocking me from when we were in high school. What's wrong with that? Academic backgrounds and titles are the results of one's efforts. What's wrong with valuing them? Well, you do have a point. However, isn't that insufficient to understand a person's true worth? For instance, I hear Mr. Smith has a fiancée within the... It probably isn't about you. He seems genuine, but rumor has it that he's had flashy relationships with women. Though I heard such rumors, he was responsible in his work. So I approved him as a manager. I guess I need to reconsider human resources again. While I was thinking, Morin started to tremble. What's this? Hey, Seth, what does this mean? You said it was just me. No, that liar, a fiancé? Was it all a lie when you said you wanted to marry me in the future? Morin, almost grabbing Seth by the collar, confronts him. But Seth screams, I'm so sorry, and runs away. Wait, you liar. She doesn't lose and chases after him at full speed. They gather glances from people they pass by. But I don't want to get involved anymore. Rather, watching their retreating figures, I somewhat felt a weight lifted off my chest, a refreshing feeling. After they were out of sight, I opened the restaurant's door again. I apologize for being late. My name is Jake Johnson. We've been waiting for you. Your party is waiting inside. Please come in. I was a little late due to talking with those two. However, the restaurant's hostess welcomed me with a warm smile, and I felt relieved. Mr. Johnson, your party is here. Dad, Mom, Chloe, sorry for the wait. Oh, Jake, you're here. Jake, waiting were my parents and Chloe. Today, I had a reservation to enjoy a family meal after a long while. It's like a dream to be able to dine in such a lovely place, Jake. Thank you. Don't say such things before we even start eating. I reserve a course, so let's eat a lot. It's my first time having a course meal. I'm excited. I've also ordered your favorite strawberry dessert, so look forward to it. Yay. Thank you, Jake. Everyone smiles at Chloe's smile. Dad's business is back on track. Chloe's surgery was successful. She's been discharged, and Mom is supporting Dad while taking care of Chloe. Chloe, having lost most of her muscles due to the long hospital stay, is now working hard in rehab to strengthen her body. Moreover, she started dating a physical therapist she met there, and her smiling face is filled with happiness, making everyone joyful. Back in high school, after breaking up with Morin, I couldn't have imagined such happy days would come. I was desperate for what was right in front of me, and I couldn't see anything around me. It's been a relentless 10 years, but I don't regret a thing about it. The world may continue to be tough on me, but I can proudly say I'm working hard for my family. These moments, laughing together with my family, are the happiest. I quietly savor this happiness. A few days later, I've been busy looking for a new manager to replace Seth. After meeting Seth at that restaurant, I looked into him more deeply, and a lot of bad information came from various places. Especially, he had a bad track record with women, and it seems he had been doing things similar to marriage scams to many women, not just Morin. His engagement to one of our employees was a blatant lie, and due to her filing complaint, he's now in police custody, and fraud charges have been established. When the arrest warrant was issued, I fired him because I didn't want him causing any more trouble to the Wilson group. Morin is a woman full of pride. She would be furious to know that she had been deceived by a scam artist and was just one of many. To tell the truth, she had been contacting me after that. Can we start over this time? I want to support you, please. We used to get along so well. I really liked you. After meeting you again, I realized you're the only one for me. Jake, it's me, Morin. Are you watching? Please reply. Come on, reply. When such messages came in one after another, I couldn't help but laugh thinking, who's talking? Seeing that I read the messages, she kept sending more, and I got scared, so I deleted them without replying and blocked her. She tried to contact me through friends for a while, and even ambushed me at that restaurant. But now, I really feel relieved, and it seems like I can take a new step forward. I was too busy to have a girlfriend until now. From now on, I want to find a lifelong partner. I genuinely feel that way. Today, as usual, while I was busy giving instructions to my subordinates, I received a message from the former Mr. Wilson. Thanks to you taking over after me, life is fun. With that message, a photo was sent, showing him happily smiling with his arm around some indigenous people. After retiring from the Wilson group, he had said he wanted to do what he loves and has been traveling around the world. I don't know where it is, but his smile is radiant and he looks really happy. Before I could reply, he sent many similar photos. When you are satisfied, please come back. The chairman's seat is always open for you. I replied. Then a cute stamp with a bear saying, I don't want to come back, yet was sent, making me laugh. I casually sent a stamp back and got back to work. Life is unpredictable. Even when things seem to be going well, unexpected pitfalls can occur. And conversely, unexpected actions can lead to success. When you think you're at rock bottom, for me, that was starting to work right after high school, and being able to passionately tell Mr. Wilson about the good points of that hotel, the small resolution and enthusiasm at that time have made me who I am now. Reflecting on my life, I feel this way.
She kept muttering as she cradled her head in her hands. What can I do to help the project get back on track? It was obvious that some significant improvement was required. It was clear that our greatest obstacle going forward would be figuring out that solution. At this pace, her career as well as the project could be severely impacted. I made up my mind right then. I had to help her in some way. Daniel is my name. I'm 30 years old. Up until this point, I had been a typical coder in my small town. However, I moved to the city due to a shift in my employment. The city's cacophony was nearly overwhelming to someone like me, who grew up in a quiet rural village tucked up in the mountains. As I stood on the train station, I had the impression that a never-ending flood of people was coming my way. I felt like I was instantly engulfed as I got on the train. It was still dark when I woke up on the morning of my first day at work. Anxiety and excitement for this new life were causing my heart to race. From the window of my apartment, I could see the dim sky between buildings gradually growing brighter. This is the beginning of something new, I reminded myself as I changed into my suit and showered. Let me try my best. My anxiety abruptly increased as soon as I entered the multi-tenant building where the business was housed. I could definitely feel my heart pounding more quickly as I went through reception and entered the elevator. My nervousness increased as the elevator went up a floor. A large office opened out in front of me when the elevator doors opened. The glass-paneled windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, and the ceiling was high. The room was crowded with desks, and people were already working hard. After a brief orientation from an HR representative, I was shown to my designated department right away. System Division 3 is where I was assigned. It was a large internet corporation with 5 departments solely focused on system development. Michael, the director of the department, was someone I had met online, but he appeared different in person. Although he had come across as harsh during the online interview, Michael was kind and smiled warmly when he was in person. Michael and I had a quick hello before I was introduced at the department's morning meeting. I took a deep breath, moved forward, and said hello. My name is Daniel. I like to go camping and trekking. I hope we can work together to the best of our abilities, and I'm forward to work with each of you. The team enthusiastically applauded my introduction. I noticed amiable smiles everywhere I looked. The environment didn't appear to be horrible. After Michael showed me to my desk, I received explanations about the necessary documents and systems. In the seat next to mine sat a woman with a radiant smile. Her name tag read Emily. When I said, "I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you," she responded with a gentle smile. When she smiled, a cute dimple appeared on her cheek. Her gentle expression and calm demeanor gave me a sense of ease in this new and nerve-wracking environment. The first day is always nerve-wracking, isn't it? I was really confused at first, too. "Oh, I'm Emily. I'm originally from the countryside, and I've been here for 3 years now, but I'm still not used to city life." Her words gave me some comfort. I was also from the countryside, still overwhelmed by the noise and pace of this big city. When lunchtime came, Emily asked, "Would you like to have lunch together?" Thanks to Emily reaching out to me on my very first day, I felt like she had saved me. Without her thoughtfulness, I probably would have been even more nervous. As we had lunch together, I got a sense of her personality and her sincere attitude toward work, and the conversation began to flow naturally. Through our conversation, I also learned that she was slightly older than me. But that peaceful time did not last long. "Emily, is this seat taken?" It was our coworker, David. He didn't seem to like how friendly Emily and I were with each other. David graduated from a prestigious private university and had a strong sense of confidence in his career. He was the same age as me and appeared friendly at first, but occasionally he would throw sharp remarks my way. "Daniel, maybe you could take your time at your last job in that local company, but things don't work that way here. The pace is completely different from the countryside." His words carried an unmistakable undertone of rivalry, and it was clear he wasn't happy about how often Emily and I talked. Whenever the conversation turned to Emily's new project, David's demeanor would grow even more tense. "For Emily's new project, I'll give it everything I've got. Let's make it a success." While his words sounded supportive, there was an unmistakable sense of competitiveness and personal interest in Emily behind them. That tension quickly changed the entire mood of our lunch. The project, Emily's first as a manager, involved implementing a business system developed by our company into a client's operations and migrating data from their old system. The old system had been developed by an external vendor based on specifications the client had created, but those specs were now unclear. As the original person in charge had already left the company to adapt to the changes in their business operations, the client had decided to switch to our company's more versatile system. In the planning phase of the project, our first task was to thoroughly analyze the old system and prepare a rough cost estimate. Due to the lack of clarity in the old system specifications, Emily's team was scrambling to gather information. They carefully compared the materials provided by the client with the specifications of the new system and worked to define the specific requirements. Eventually, they reached an agreement on the requirements and costs, and the project officially kicked off. David had already been assigned as a member, and with the formal launch, I was added to the project team as well. Once the project began, Emily, David, and I started working on migrating data from the old system to the new one. Initially, Emily had estimated the migration would be a simple data transfer. But once we started, unexpected issues quickly surfaced. "Emily, I moved the old system's data into the new system, but on the new screen, it's throwing errors and won't move to the next step. It looks like there are way more issues with the data than we expected." David, who was in charge of data migration and testing on the new system, reported this to Emily. Really? The sample data they gave us didn't have that many issues. Can you double-check if there's a problem with the migration script? David confidently pointed to his monitor and responded calmly. His tone carried a strong sense of certainty in his own assessment. Of course, I checked it multiple times. Look, the data from the old system contained multiple issues. Fields that were supposed to contain numbers had letters, and required fields were sometimes left blank. But these kind of problems prevented the new system from functioning properly. The sample data Emily received during the estimation phase contained almost no error-inducing entries, so she had proceeded with the project feeling reassured. But in reality, there were tens of thousands of records to be migrated, and each error type needed to be identified and handled accordingly. It could be said that her inexperience had caused her to overlook that factor during estimation. At this rate, we might not finish in time. The tremble in her voice as she quietly said that stuck with me. The most reliable way to solve the problem was to input each record manually into the new system's interface and decide how to handle errors case by case. However, entering tens of thousands of records manually would take an enormous amount of time and drastically impact the project schedule. Faced with this situation, Emily explained during the next meeting with the client that the issue fell outside the original estimate and requested a discussion, but the client flatly rejected it. If you didn't recognize the issue during estimation, that's your responsibility. Our budget is already set and we're not paying any more. Emily was clearly shaken by those words. She stressed that the data flaws were unexpected and that additional resources were essential to resolve them, but the client remained unmoved. After the meeting, the usual brightness was gone from her face, and it was clear she felt lost. Still, after finishing her report to Michael, she immediately gathered the project's core members and began speaking with determination. After discussing with Michael, we've decided to move forward with the project. The schedule will be extremely tight, but our first step is to clean the data and solve each issue one by one. Looking over the timeline, she reviewed each task with us in detail. Every task was packed in, and there was no room for even the slightest delay. She held her head in her hands, repeatedly murmuring, "What should I do for the project to get back on track?" Some major improvement was clearly needed. It was obvious that finding that solution would become our biggest challenge moving forward. At this rate, not only the project but also Emily's career could be seriously affected. I strongly felt that I had to do something to prevent that from happening. In that moment, I made up my mind. I knew I had to do something to support her. I walked over to her and gently spoke. "Emily, do you have a moment?" She looked a little surprised. "I think there are parts of this project we could automate. At my previous job, I worked on streamlining operations using RPA. If you're open to it, maybe we could try using that knowledge to automate part of this project." There was a hint of surprise on her face, but I could also tell she had some questions. "Automation? That would be great if it's possible. But what is RPA exactly?" To answer her question, I began explaining the concept in a bit more technical detail. RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation. To put it simply, it's a technology that allows software to perform repetitive tasks on a computer that a human would normally do. For example, it can automate routine repetitive tasks like data entry and file transfers. If we implement this, we could cut down on manual work and significantly speed up the project. Nodding with interest, she asked for more specifics. What kind of processes could we automate exactly? From there, I began explaining in detail which processes could be automated and how we would implement them. I carefully walked through each task we could automate, how much time we could save, and how the RPA tools could be integrated into the project. Seeing the spark in her eyes, I felt that my proposal might actually help ease some of her burden. Using this technology to support her and the team felt like a real opportunity for me to contribute to the company. But more than that, I truly hoped it would lead to the success of her project and relieve her of some of that heavy pressure. After we implemented the RPA technology I suggested, things started changing rapidly. We identified the processes suitable for automation and configured the software to handle each task, and the whole team began to feel the impact. The first process we automated was data entry. With that automated, several hours of daily manual work could now be completed in seconds. For entries that triggered errors, the system output both the input data and the corresponding error message. The erroneous data was then reviewed and addressed by the client based on the error message, after which it was automatically re-registered. Next, we tackled the automation of internal report preparation. To manage the project internally, we needed to submit weekly progress reports to Michael and the quality assurance team containing key updates. This report included the total number of issues and how many had been resolved to assess overall project risk. It also tracked discrepancies between the initial estimates and the actual time worked, which was critical for managing labor costs and adjusting team assignments. Previously, transferring this data from the issue tracking system and attendance system into the report had been done manually. The number of issues from the issue management system and the attendance data from the timekeeping system had to be manually transferred into the report. But by using RPA, the data is now automatically entered into designated fields based on predefined conditions, significantly reducing both the time required and the risk of transcription errors. These improvements helped get the project back on track, nearly restoring it to the original schedule. Of course, not everything was solved overnight, but the team could now feel real progress. As the project regained momentum, team morale noticeably improved. The office, which had once been filled with a heavy atmosphere, has now become a lively space for active discussion, with team members regularly offering enthusiastic suggestions. Seeing that, I felt a growing sense of pride in being part of this team. More than anything, the gratitude and trust Emily became a huge source of joy. One day, after reviewing the project's progress in a meeting, she publicly acknowledged my efforts in front of the whole team. Thanks to Daniel, our project has taken a major step forward. With the introduction of RPA, we've achieved significant efficiency gains. Daniel, thank you. We're almost to the finish line. Let's keep giving it our best, everyone. Her words left me feeling humbled. But when I saw the sincere appreciation in her eyes, I felt a deep, unquestionable sense of satisfaction for being part of this project and for having supported her. As the project ran more smoothly and the team united around a shared purpose, my sense of fulfillment only deepened. Every day reminded me of what true teamwork meant. Emily even began asking, "Do you think this part could be automated with RPA too?" As I answered her questions, I started to feel a quiet excitement, like our relationship was growing into something more than just coworkers. However, that same progress began to stir a sense of anxiety in David. Seeing Emily and me together so often seemed to make him feel like his place on the team was at risk. He also tried to contribute by offering technical suggestions, but his ideas didn't quite match the impact of mine. His suggestions weren't bad, but because my ideas were already deeply integrated into the project, his didn't stand out. During meetings, the disappointment on his face was impossible to miss. He often sighed heavily, staring at his laptop screen in frustration. Even so, he refused to give up and kept reworking new ideas again and again. But each time, his expression grew more conflicted. One day, while the project was underway, David and I happened to be the only two working overtime. He spoke as he poured himself a cup of coffee, looking a bit tired. "Daniel, I think I might have gotten worked up over something small, seeing how well things were going between you and Emily. I guess I started to feel uneasy." His voice carried a hint of regret. I simply responded, "It's all right. Competing is part of the job." And I added that working together would be essential for the success of our next project. That night, the two of us stayed late, working together to refine one of his proposals. This time, his attitude didn't come from anxiety. It came from a clear sense of purpose and a shared goal. By the time we neared the final stages of the project, we were completely in sync. David offered ideas actively, and I respected and welcomed them. As a result, the project was a great success, and several of the proposals were adopted and contributed significantly to our achievements. When the project successfully wrapped up, the entire team gathered for a celebration. The atmosphere was full of energy, with everyone recognizing and appreciating each other's efforts and success. At that gathering, David, usually full of confidence, spoke to me a bit tipsy and more candid than usual. "Daniel, I really thought I could outdo you, but I couldn't.
Toward the end, you were the one helping me out. It was frustrating, but I've got to admit, I lost. Still, I hope we can keep working together. His words came with a smile, and I was genuinely happy to hear them. It was the moment when a real friendship began to form between us. It was the start of a true bond built through the project. Just then, Emily walked over. Sensing the moment, David quietly moved to another table. Emily began to speak. Daniel, you really saved me. When the client told us they wouldn't pay anything more, I honestly had no idea what to do. I kept telling myself I had to handle it as a manager, but deep down, I didn't have a way out. I was ready to step down if it came to that. Thank you for standing by me. No need to thank me. I just want to support you after seeing how hard you were working. Besides, you really remind me of someone I've always looked up to. Emily looked surprised at my words. A little embarrassed. I explained who I was referring to. She's an older cousin. She was always kind, caring, and had the most beautiful smile. When I was a kid, I was convinced I was going to marry her. I cried all day when she got married. Listening to my story, Emily smiled with curiosity. Wow, someone you looked up to, huh? So, does that mean you admire me too? She grinned teasingly. Of course. Emily blushed slightly and smiled. The following week, I was called in by the department manager. The automation we implemented in the project had been well received within the company, and there was now interest in expanding those improvements to other departments. In fact, there was already a department that handled RPA, but their focus had been on selling and deploying it for clients, not on using it internally. As a result, leadership had asked to explore internal efficiency improvements, and it was decided that I would work with the RPA department manager to lead the effort. I was officially appointed as the leader of this internal process improvement project. To be honest, the sudden promotion was unexpected, but I felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that my efforts had been recognized. With high expectations and a strong sense of responsibility, I felt excited for this new role. Since the previous project had just wrapped up, I immediately began preparations for the internal initiative. The next day, I gave a detailed explanation of what we had done on Emily's project to the executives, the RPA team manager, and other stakeholders, and we began discussing which departments to target next. Until then, I had been working at the desk next to Emily, but for this new project, I had to relocate. That's when David came over and spoke to me. Daniel, I heard the news. They're making you a project lead already? That's incredible, especially since you just joined. We need to celebrate. How about tonight? Let's invite Emily, too. David also called out to Emily at the next desk, and she agreed cheerfully. Sure, we definitely need to celebrate. I mean, if Daniel is. And so, the three of us ended up going out for drinks that evening. At a lively corner bar during the evening rush, we took our seats and quickly received our first round of beers. David raised his glass for a quick toast to Daniel's promotion. Cheers. Cheers. Our beer glasses clinked softly, and the meal began in a relaxed and cheerful atmosphere. Naturally, the conversation shifted toward my new role and the success of the previous project. Daniel, being a project leader sounds tough, but you're excited, right? I replied with a smile. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's a new challenge. Emily nodded, clearly impressed by my positive attitude. You'll do just fine. Your automation idea was such a huge help. Honestly, I think you'll do much better than someone like me. I quickly responded with humility and praised Emily's contribution. It was because of the way you built the team. Everyone seemed to really enjoy their work in the second half. I learned a lot from you. David strongly agreed and added to the conversation. Yeah, I think it was thanks to you too, Emily. By the way, Daniel, so you used RPA at your last job? I always wondered why you weren't placed in the RPA department. I began to share more about my background. I was doing programming at my last job. One day, I was put in charge of RPA, and that experience is what's helping me now. At the time, the company wanted to make RPA a central focus, but when the president changed, that plan was scrapped. In the end, we only looked into it internally and never made any client proposals. I couldn't really connect with the new leadership, and that's what made me decide to change jobs. Since I had no formal RPA results, I couldn't include it on my resume, but I had a blog and a video channel where I explained programming. The viewership wasn't huge, but one of the recruiters here liked what they saw, and that's what got me this job. Both of them listened with genuine interest. When I finished, David responded with admiration. I see. So that's why you know so much about RPA. As we continued drinking, David suddenly stood up. I need to hit the restroom. Once he left, it was just Emily and me. Compared to surrounding noise, our little space suddenly felt quiet, and I spoke to her a little nervously. Emily, thank you for everything while we were desk neighbors. I was really anxious after joining the company, but having you next to me and helping me out, it meant a lot. She looked a little surprised at first, but then her expression softened into a warm smile. That's not true. You helped me just as much, Daniel. I really thought we'd keep working together, so I'm honestly a little sad that you're moving. Her words made my heart race. Not wanting to miss the moment, I summoned the courage to speak. Emily, if you're up for it, would you like to have dinner sometime outside of work? I'd love to talk more like we are now. She looked momentarily surprised, but then smiled kindly. Is it because I remind you of that cousin you admired? I shook my head and answered clearly. No, it's because you're you, Emily. Thank you. I'd really like that. There's so much more I'd like to talk to you about, too. Just then, David returned. Looks like you two are deep in conversation. Emily and I exchanged a glance and smiled. That night, Emily and I exchanged contact information, and we decided to start dating. Even I was a little surprised at how quickly things progressed. Once our relationship became known in the office, we received warm support from our coworkers. David in particular had changed. He congratulated us sincerely and said, Daniel, Emily, congratulations. I'll admit I'm a little jealous, but you two have my full support. His words were free from competition or envy, and they were filled with genuine friendship. I was deeply grateful for the change in his attitude. That shift in David helped strengthen the bond between the three of us even further. I felt confident that from now on, we would support each other both in work and in life as true friends. The project's success had brought us more than just professional results. It gave us something far deeper. And I truly believe that. Months passed since Emily and I began dating, and our relationship continued to grow. Our lives were filled with support and good fortune, and we naturally found ourselves moving toward marriage. Though we worked in different departments, being in the same company gave us many chances to see each other's professional sides, which deepened our trust and understanding. Through our respective roles at work, we came to appreciate each other's talents and efforts, and that made our bond even stronger. One evening, while relaxing at home, we casually began talking about our future together. Emily, things have been going so well between us. I've been thinking maybe it's time we start talking about marriage. What do you think? When I asked her that, she smiled warmly and said, I've been thinking the same thing. In that moment, it felt like the whole room filled with a gentle warmth. On our wedding day, the ceremony was held in a small church surrounded by family and close friends under the soft sunlight of a warm spring day. As we held hands during the ceremony, I found myself thinking of everyone we had met along the way. Filled with gratitude, I realized again how every fateful encounter and moment we had shared had shaped the life we now have. Looking back, it's clear that the struggles and uncertainties of the past only make the happiness we feel today shine even brighter. With deep gratitude for meeting Emily and for all the support from those around us, we will continue walking forward together. No matter what the future holds, I truly believe we can overcome it side by side. This is the beginning of our new life together.